Good morning. How are we? Just finished our 6 a.m. workout. That make you feel a bit, ugh. Don't worry, we have another one at 7:15, 9:30, and 7 p.m. for the night owls. Anyway, plus outside and inside. Ooh, could be rainy today. Let's have a look. Anyway, blood sugar levels, carbs comes up a lot, and happiness. And I'm going to bring this up and I'm going to first explain, morning Diana, first explain the backstory to this. And I found this really interesting yesterday. So I had two conversations yesterday which contradict massively, and it went into the Q&A that I did last night inside our Kickstart program. By the way, if you want more details on that, let me know for our September program. And it went into that about tracking progress. And I spoke about this a bit yesterday, in that we often use scales to track the progress and we forget the little wins along the way. And that can be horrendous for our confidence because we're just putting our self-worth on this number, whereas we're forgetting that we've exercised more. We've got up at X o'clock to do an exercise session, whatever it is. Now, I was chatting to one of the ladies and over the last few months, she's been on the program and she's lost inches, her clothes fit better, she's fitter, she can do things that she couldn't do before, but the scales weren't moving as what she wanted, and that got her really frustrated. Now, the interesting part is that she then went for her checkup in terms of blood sugar levels, and her HbA1c, which is the average, it's basically your average blood sugar level over the last 3 months, was down. And she was like, wow, it's down. And they even said, oh, that's surprising given the medication you've been on for something else, that had happened. My point is that blood sugar levels went down, but she was still going, the weight isn't changing. I'm getting frustrated because the weight isn't changing. My point here is sometimes we're measuring stuff, we're measuring one thing that isn't actually showing the whole picture because something else is going on inside her body which is working brilliantly. Not to mention she's fitter, stronger, fitting her clothes better, right? Not to mention that something's changing inside her body that may then lead to more easily losing weight. So my point in this though is that then I had another conversation with someone else and they had been told by their GP that if they lost weight, their blood pressure would go down. And they've lost weight, but their blood pressure hasn't gone down yet. And it was quite interesting because I had a conversation and it got me really like, I had to almost change the Q&A last night that we did from just about quickly planning your meals, social events, snacking, to actually how we define happiness and progress, because it was really interesting how she had lost weight, but she was so focused on going, why hasn't my blood pressure changed now? Whereas the other lady was like, oh, my blood sugar levels have come down, but I haven't lost weight. This is going to sound cheesy, but this is going to be a journey. It's not a quick fix. It's never going to be a quick fix. But the habits you lay down today are going to lead to greater progress. It could be that you step on the scales, nothing changes, or you put on a pound because you had soup last night and you've got loads of water inside of you and fibre that's all fermenting in your gut. Morning, Diane. So many Dianes today. It's all fermenting and you put on a pound. But the thing is, if you're doing the right things and you're tracking the right things, the exercise, the calorie deficit, protein, water, you're in control of snacking a bit more. Rather than I only did 3 workouts, try I did 3 workouts. Rather than, oh, I ruined it today with fish and chips. Try, well, I did well on the other days. How well did you score compared to the other days? So, on to blood sugar levels and carbs. That leads me into a question I had this morning about should I cut my carbs if I'm trying to lower my blood sugar levels? And that makes sense. Like, from common sense point of view, you'd think if you lower your sugar, surely you're going to lower your blood sugar level. But it's not quite as simple as that. When they've done studies in a hospital setting, and these are so good because they can literally control everything that goes in someone's mouth. The reason that's so powerful is because obviously, if you walk into the high street and go to someone, excuse me, what did you eat yesterday? They'll go, what did I eat yesterday? Oh, toast and marmalade. Is that it? And then you go, you probe, and then it comes out, oh yeah, and I went to Sandra's for a cup of tea, and then we had a cake and a biscuit. then I had a slice of cheese, I was making the cauliflower cheese. It adds up and adds up. And the reason is this flaws a lot of studies because what they try and measure, they're not actually measuring because the diet's so different. So, because people can't stick to it. So they look at what happens in this setting, okay? Especially in these extreme times. So they look at what happens in these settings and they found that as long as calories are the same, there was no real difference, okay? However, that doesn't mean that cutting carbs isn't an option because ultimately, cutting carbs is just one way of creating a calorie deficit to help improve your blood sugar levels, to lose body fat, to get the results that you want. And that could help. If you cut carbs, you got to put something on the plate. So let's say, argument's sake, let's make this practical. You had a plate of rice. What you could do is go, right, instead of that plate of rice, I'm going to cut it in half and then mix some beans with it. Right, so then you've increased the protein and lowered the carbs slightly, increased the fibre. That might keep you full up for a little bit longer. Morning, Sandra. That might keep you full up for a little bit longer. That might then slowly make a difference. Now, I'm not saying you have to eat beans and stuff, but you get my point. It might mean that by lowering carbs, you increase your proteins. You've got to put something in the tank. Protein keeps you fuller. It may be helpful in terms of stopping you eating at a meal. So, for example, you're eating, then you feel full. It may keep you fill up for longer. You may not absorb as many calories and you might burn more from actually digesting it. These are small things. It may help with muscle retention, which again can be good for your energy levels, for the things you say yes to your independence, etc. So recovery from exercise, you can train a bit more because you're not like, oh my God, I can't move my arms. So we used a towel this morning, used the beach towel just to bring back the sun. But it's amazing what you can do with a towel. And we do that in our home workouts. Don't need all this fancy stuff technically, although fancy stuff is welcome. Anyway, I hope that helps. That's a quick whistle tops tour. However, what I would say is just get clear on how you define your progress. Because sometimes how you define that will dictate your happiness, aka how happy you are with your progress, how attached you get to success and failure. Because when you're really attached to failure or success, you're up and down. Then when you're on the down, you sometimes struggle to stick to it for long enough to see the results you want because you've defined failure using one measure, which is quite inaccurate and not giving you the whole picture. Hope that helps. I hope that makes sense. A lot to digest at this time of day. You may want to rewatch it or ask questions. Comment below, let me know. So how do you define your success? Be honest, and if it scales, don't worry about it. Maybe we can look at adding something else in. So you don't just track scales, you track measurements, or make it more processed, something you can control. You track how many times you write down what you eat. Guarantee there'll probably be a correlation with that. How many times you hit 10,000 steps, how many times you do a workout, how many times you drink a glass of water before a meal, how many times you do whatever, you get up from your desk. Make it personal to you and make it so easy to do that you're 100% confident you can do it, just to start building that momentum. Hope that helps. So, I am off to get ready for our 7:15 workout, which is a 15-minute quick blast. So I best get my hair ready and my eyebrows done, and I am good to go. Take care and speak soon.